what we have explored in the last session. Okay, so in today's session, let's explore some more properties related to text initially. So there is one property called text transform. Now, using this text transform property, we can convert our text into uppercase or lowercase, uppercase, lowercase, and something called capitalize. Okay, let's consider you have showing some content on the screen and you want to show all the characters of that particular content in the uppercase. Then we can use something called text transform property. In the same way, if by default you are showing the content in is my voice audible, guys? Is my screen visible now? Yeah. So I was explaining about the text transform property. Using this text transform property, we can just convert our text into uppercase, or we can show our text in the lowercase or the capitalize. Capitalize means every word first letter will be in the capital. Every word first letter will be in the capital. That is what we are going to call as a capitalize. For example, let's consider here I am just creating one basic document. Okay, here let's suppose I'm just adding some content H2, and here I'm saying like welcome to HTML and CSS. I just added some content. Now, if you see, while adding this content, all the content in my H2 tag is in the lowercase. So if I save it and if I just open this document in my browser, now see everything is in the lowercase. Now I want to convert this entire content into uppercase. Okay, all the characters here, all the alphabets I want to show in the uppercase. Okay, so in that case, what we can do, simply we can select this particular element, that is H2. So I'm taking style tag, selecting the H2, and to this H2, I am configuring the property called text transform. And the value of this text transform I am giving as an uppercase. Uppercase means I'm saying whatever content I have in this H2, convert that entire content into uppercase. If I save it, go back to my browser. Now see, entire content, whatever content I have displayed, everything is in the uppercase. Now let's suppose I am taking one more element here, something called H1. Here also I'm saying like welcome to HTML and CSS. Now, if you see here, everything I am writing in the uppercase. Now, if I save it and if I go back, now see everything is in the uppercase. Welcome to HTML and CSS. Now, I want to convert this entire content into lowercase. So, in that case, what I can do, I can select that H1. Simply, I can configure text transform property and value I can assign as a lowercase. Now, inside the H1, everything is in the capital letter. Now everything will be converted into small letters. Now if you come back here, now see everything is in the small letters. So you can convert uppercase into lowercase, lowercase into uppercase, or if your sentences are in the combination of uppercase and lowercase, you want to show in any one style, maybe in uppercase, maybe in lowercase. In that case, you can just go with this transform property. Okay, we have one more, that is capitalize. So I'm taking something called H3 here, or I will take H2, and simply I will say here HTML and CSS looks pretty easy to learn. Okay, I'm just adding some statement here. Now, if you save and if you go back to your browser, now here we got something like this, HTML and CSS. So let me just take some other element here. Maybe I will take H3. Yeah. Now see, we got here something like HTML and CSS looks pretty easy to learn. If you see here, this entire HTML is in the capital, entire CSS is in the capital, nothing but uppercase. This and is in the lowercase. Pretty P is capital, looks, everything is in the lowercase. Now what I want, every word first letter should be capital. I want every word first letter should be capital. It means here L should be capital, here E should be capital, here T should be capital, here L should be capital, here A should be capital. So in that case, again, we can use text transform property. So we can select our H3 tag and simply we can add text transform and the value can be capitalized. Value we have to add as a capitalize. Now save it. Now if you go back here, now see every word first letter will be always capital. First letter is capital. So this is lowercase, uppercase and capitalize. I hope you guys understood, right? All these three values. Yeah, yesterday there was no session, guys. Is my voice audible now clearly or is it still breaking? Yeah. In between, I was disconnected. That is the reason I think there was some breaking in my voice or there was some lagging. Okay. Yeah. Now this is the text transform. Now to our text, to all this text, we can add some shadow also. To our text, we can add shadow. So to add shadow for our text, we can use a property called text hyphen shadow. Text hyphen shadow property will add the shadow to our text. Now to add shadow to our text, we have to give some information here. Like what should be, like our shadow should start from where? So we have to tell our starting point of our shadow from the x-axis, starting point of our shadow from y-axis, and you have to tell the intensity of your blur, how much blurriness you want, and second, what should be the color of your shadow. You have to mention the color of your shadow. So you have to tell your shadow should start from where, like from x-axis, from which position it should start, in y-axis, from which position it should start, what should be the intensity of your blurriness, like what should be the blurriness, and then what should be the shadow color. For example, if I am writing here some content like this, something like I'm just adding here Ashok IT. Now to this Ashok IT, I want to add shadow. Let's suppose I want to add shadow. So if you want to add shadow, so in x-axis direction, shadow should start from where? Should it start from this 0 position? From here to it should be applied like this, or shadow should be applied after some space here, maybe after 20 pixel. I want to apply the shadow. Maybe after 100 pixel, I want to start my shadow. So like this, we have to give the value for x-axis from exactly where you want to start the shadow. In the same way, in the y-axis also. So from here, from where you want to start giving the shadow. So you want to start from the 0 or you want to start the giving shadow after some value, maybe after 10 pixel, maybe after 20 pixel, like that we have to give the value. Second, what should be the blurriness of your shadow? That value also we have to give. Next, color. What should be the color? So if you come back here, now suppose for text 1, I am saying that my text shadow in the x-axis direction, it should start after 20 pixel. In y-axis, I want it should start from 0 pixel only. Blurriness should be something like 10 pixel and color should be red. Color should be red. First value indicates x-axis, second value indicates y-axis, third value indicates your blurriness, fourth value indicates color. Now if I save it and if I go back here, now see, you're in the x-axis, it is not starting from here. It is starting from here. And in the y-axis, it is starting from 0 1. Now suppose here also if I give 0 pixel. Now if I save it, now see, it is starting exactly from the 0 position. And we are able to add the shadow effect. So whatever color you want, you can give. If you want to give here green, you can add here green color. Now it will be in the green color. So in the same way, I can add the text shadow for this as well. Maybe here 0 pixel and 10 pixel from here. And here I will just give something like 20 pixel red. Save it. Now see from here. From the top, after 20 pixel, the shadow is started. In the same way, for this also we can add the text shadow. Now here I am saying like 30 pixel, here 0 pixel, maybe 10 pixel, here black. You got something like this. Now if you see here, after 30 pixel only the shadow has been started. So like this, you can add the shadow for your text. You can add this shadow to your text using this text shadow property. Okay. So first value indicates x-axis, second value indicates y-axis, third value indicates blurriness, fourth value indicates color. And each value you have to separate with one space. You have to separate with one space. Okay, Sachin, can you check your internet from your end? I think everybody is able to listen. Only you are not able to listen. So check your internet connection. Okay. This is the text shadow. Text transform, text shadow. We have one more property, that is direction. Something called direction. Using this direction property, we can tell what should be the direction of our text. Should our text display from left to right, or it should display from right to left? We can tell the direction of our content. Whether our content should display from left to right, by default it will display from left to right, or content should display from right to left. Okay. So if you come back here, now this is our content, right? Now it is starting from left to right. Now if I want, I can just add here direction property. And I can assign the value right to left. The value is RTL. RTL stands for right to left. Now if I save it and if I come back here, now see, my content is starting from right. It is displaying from right to left. There are two values what we can configure. By default, if you don't assign this value or you assign this value, the value will be left to right. These are the two values what you can configure. This is the default value, left to right. This is right to left. Left to right. This is right to left. Now content will be displayed like this. This is the direction property. You can change the direction of your content using this direction property. So the values for this are LTR and RTL. Left to right, right to left. So these are the properties what we can assign to our content, and we can change the style of our content. using text transform, text shadow, direction. Using direction. Okay. Text transform, text shadow, direction. So as of now, we know the properties like text align, text decoration, direction, text transform. These are the properties what we are aware related to our text. Related to our text. So now let me just check what are the properties I have given related to your text in the syllabus. This was the syllabus, right, which I have shared with you guys. So when it comes to CSS, when it comes to text property, so we know color, we know direction, we know text align, we know text decoration, we know text transform, we know text shadow. Next one is letter spacing and word spacing. Now, using this letter spacing property, we can generate more space between this content. Now, if you see between this H and T, there is some space. If you want to generate more space between this character H and T, or between all these characters, then you can utilize the property called letter spacing. Letter spacing is a property which will generate extra space between our letters. So let's consider for this H3, I'm just adding here letter spacing and I'm saying 10 pixel. I want 10 pixel space between each and every letter. So if you save it, between each and every letter, you will get 10 pixel space. So extra space we are generating between the letters. Letter spacing. Like if I make it 20 pixel, then 20 pixel space will be generated. So as per your requirement, you can generate some space between the letters. In the same way, we have something called word spacing also. Between the words also, we can generate this space. Now, if you see between this word and this word, we have some space. Now, I want to generate extra space between these two words. Then we can utilize one more property, that is word spacing. Something like I'm giving here 20 pixel. So I want 20 pixel space between the each and every word. Now see, now space has been increased between the words. If I add more value, maybe 50 pixel, more space will be generated between the words. Now see, this much space, 50 pixel space is generated between each and every word. Each and every word. So you can generate the space between letter spacing. You can generate the space between the words as well. So this is word spacing. Letter spacing and word spacing. Text align, text decoration, direction, text transform, letter spacing, word spacing. So these are the properties that we can use. Okay, which are related to our text. Now, let's suppose I am taking my div element. Let's suppose I am taking the div element. Okay. Now to this div element, I want to add the border. I want to add the border property. Border property means I want to assign border width. I want to assign border style. I want to assign border color also. So basically, I want to add a border for my div element. So what I will do, simply here, I will take something like this. Div.html. Here, let me remove this, all these things. Taking a div. assigning some ID to this div. Okay, maybe something like this, div1, and here just adding some content, added some random content. Now, if I load this document in my browser, it looks something like this. Now to this div element, I just want to add some borders. So how to add border for div element? Already we have seen in the last session, right? So here we can take style tag. We can utilize the border property and we can assign some value. But before that, we have to select our element. So I will select my element using ID approach. So using this ID value, I have selected my div element. Now here simply I will assign border property. So I'm saying like 2 pixel solid, something like black. Solid like the black. Now if I just go back to my browser, now see, I got the border. I got border for my div element. Now by seeing this design, can you tell me what is the width of my div element? What is the width of my div element? What will be the width of my div element? So how much width I have for this div element? Okay, div element width will be, by default, it will be 100%. Width will be always 100%. 100% means whatever your screen size will be there, it will take complete screen size. But by seeing this output, you can say that there is some space in the left side, there is some space from right side, there is some space from the top also. Now, why do we have this space? Now, to understand why do we have this space from the left, top, and right, we have to understand one more property called margin. So I will explain about this concept after some time. So as of now, blindly you believe that the width of your div will be 100%. It will be like 100%. And the height of your div will depends upon how much content you have in that div element. So height depends upon content, depends on content. Height always depends upon the content. Now, if you see in this element, in this div element, we have only this much content. So the height of our div is this much only. If I increase my content, if you go back here, if I increase my content, the height of my div will increase. So height of my div will depends upon how much content I have in that element. Width will be 100%. Width will be 100%. Okay. Now, if you want, you can increase or decrease the width also. You can basically here you can decrease the width. You can decrease the width. And even you can increase and decrease the height as well. Decrease and increase height. Here also you can increase and decrease the width. So how to increase and decrease the width, how to increase and decrease the height means, for that we are going to utilize two properties. To increase and decrease width, we will use width property. To increase and decrease height, we will use height property. It means you can increase the height of your div, you can decrease the height of your div. You can increase the width of your div, you can decrease the width of your div using this width and height property. So if you come back here, now for my div, by default, the height is 100%, right? If I want, I can decrease the width. Maybe I will say width equals to 300 pixel. If I say 300 pixel, the width of my div will be 300 pixel. Now see, it is going to decrease. Now see, the width of my div has been decreased. In the same way, if I remove this content, this much content, if I remove, this is the height of my div. If I want, I can increase the height of my div also. How to increase? Simply you have to use height property and you have to give some value. So I'm giving here 400 pixels. Now see, the height of my div has been increased. It's 400 pixels. We can increase the width, we can decrease the width. We can increase the height, we can decrease the height using the width height property. You can give the values in the form of pixel, which is by default your browser will understand, or else you can give in the percentage also. So we know that width is by default 100%, we can say 50% also. So the height width of your div will be the 50%. In the same way, height also we can give. Maybe I will give here something like 40%. Now 40. Now see, here percentage is not working. For height, percentage is not working. Now why percentage is not working? That's because of percentage value will depends upon its parent value. So here I will do one thing. I will just select body element. For body, I will give height something like 500 pixels. Now see, the height of my particular div element is got increased. So basically this percentage value will depends upon the parent value. So this div will depends upon the parent values of, so my div will depend on the parent of its parent element. So for this div, the parent element is body. So for body, I will add the border so that you will understand in much more better way. Now see, this is the width of my body element. This is the height of my body element. Now, if you assign percentage, if you say 40%, then it will take the 40% of its parent element. If you assign 40%, it means it will calculate the 40% of its parent element. Now, parent element is body for the div. For this div, the parent element is body. So body height is 500 pixel. So 40% means it will be like 40% of 500 pixel. 40% of 500 pixel. If I say 100%, the value of height will be also 500 pixel only. It will be like 100%. If I say it's 50%, now it's a 50%. It means the width of your body will be 100%, and height again depends upon how much elements we are adding inside that body. That will be the height of your body element. That will be the height of your body element. Okay. This is the body element. So now you don't worry about this percentage and pixel, how they will work. We will have a separate session on that. There is a topic called CSS units. So we will learn about these pixels and percentage in that particular session. So currently you guys can just utilize pixel values. So here I will just give the pixel of my height as something like 300 pixel. Now it's like 300 pixel. Now let me remove this part, body part. It looks something like this. So the point what we need to understand here is we can increase and decrease the height of our elements using the width and height property. Using width and height property, you can increase or decrease the width or height of your elements. Got it? Understood width and height property? Okay. Now let's understand one more property, that is margin and padding. So first, let's try to understand about margin property. Now to understand about this margin property, I am taking two div elements. Okay, I will take two div elements. So I will just go back here. I will create a new file, something called margin.html. Taking two div elements. Div 1, adding some content here, lorem20. In the same way, I will take one more div. Now to this div, I will add the ID as something like red. For this div, I will add ID value as a green. Now to both this div, I just want to add border. So I will take here style tag, select both the divs using their ID values, and simply I will add the border. Okay, I have just added the border for both the divs. First div border will be in the red color, second div border will be in the green color. So if I go back to my browser, it looks something like this. Okay, for that I need to load this document in the browser. Now here I have loaded. Now this is our red color div, this is our green color div. Now tell me, do you have any space between this both the divs? Do we have any space between this both the divs? No, right? Now I want to generate the space around my div element. Currently, I have taken my div element like this. This is my div element. Let's suppose around this div element. Okay, outside the border, around this div element, I want to generate some space here. I want to generate like this some space. If I generate some space around this div element, then next div element should come after that space. It means next div element should start from here. It should start from here. Currently, my div elements are starting like this. Next div element is starting from here. But if I generate space around my this red color div, then next div element should start from here. So how to generate space around our div element? Around our element, how to generate space? So to generate this space outside our border or around our element, we will be using something called margin property. We will be using something called margin property. So here, if I just assign margin, and if I say 20 pixel, then 20 pixel space will be generated across my first div element from all the sides. All the sides means top, bottom, left, right. From all the sides, 20 pixel space will be generated. So if I save, if I go back here, now see 20 pixel space is generated from all the sides, top, bottom, left, and right. And next element is starting after that space. Next element is starting after that space. If you want, for this green element also, you can generate some space. So here also, I can just add something called margin 100 pixel. Now what this 100 pixel will do, what this margin property will do, it will generate 100 pixel space, okay, around our element, around this green color div element. So if you go back here, now see 100 pixel space is generated from the top, from the bottom, from the left, and from the right also. So after this div, if I take any element, it will start after this 100 pixel only. Suppose if I take here something like one more div, and if I add some content here, now this third div will start after the 100 pixel space. Now see, it is starting from here. So there is a 100 pixel space. So how to generate this space outside the border? How to generate this space outside the border? To generate this space outside the border, we are going to utilize the property called margin. So margin is a property which will generate the space outside the border. Understood? Margin property. Understood how it is generating the space? So here margin will generate the space outside the border. Outside the border of element. So how to generate? For that, simply we will use margin. We will assign some value, maybe something like 20 pixel or something. So it will generate 20 pixel space around our element, or 100 pixel space around our element, whatever value you will assign. Now we have one more property, that is padding. Okay, what is that padding? We will see that after some time. Now if I use margin and if I give 20 pixel, now this property will generate space from all the sides. All the sides means from top, from bottom, from left, from right. Top, bottom, left, right. So this is the top, this is the bottom, this is the left, this will be right. Suppose you want to generate different space from all the sides. Maybe something like from top, you want to generate 100 pixel. From bottom, you want to generate 50 pixel. From left, you want to generate 20 pixel. From right, you want to generate something like 10 pixel. Then in that case, we can write a separate properties here. Something like this. Okay, I'm just removing the margin property. So it is starting here. Now for this element, green color div, from top, I want to generate 100 pixel. So what we can do, simply we can utilize margin hyphen top property. Now if you use margin hyphen top, it will generate space only from the top direction. It will generate space only from the top direction. If you save it, if you go back here, now see, space is generated only from top direction. There is no space from the bottom. There is no space from the left and right. If you want to generate space only from bottom, then what we will do? Simply here we will assign margin bottom. Now if you come back here, now space is generated only from bottom. If you want to generate space only from left, then we have a property called here margin left. If you say margin left, it will generate the space only from left side. We have a value called margin right. If you say margin right, it will generate the space only from the right side. Now see, space is generated only from right side. Now I can just increase the value. Maybe here I will say 300 pixel. Now see, 300 pixel space is generated only from right side. If you want to generate space from all these sides, but with different values, then you can just add like this. You can say margin left, maybe 100 pixel, margin top, maybe something like 200 pixel, margin bottom, something like 30 pixel. Now you have given different values for all the sides. Now you will get different values from all these sides. 30 pixel, here 100 pixel, 300 pixel, 200 pixel, like that. So if you want to use same space from all these sides, if you want to generate same space from all these sides, then directly write only margin. Write only margin. If you just write margin and if you give one value, if you just write margin and if you give one value, then 30 pixel space will be generated from all these sides. If you don't want to give same space from all these sides, you want to give specific values for all the sides, then you can go with these 4 properties: margin right, margin left, margin top, margin bottom. So if I go back here, now 30 pixel space generated from all these sides. If you want, you can assign all these 4 values here also, using this one property also. Suppose here if I give something like this, 50 pixel, 100 pixel, 200 pixel, I can assign like this 4 values also. Now first value will be top, second value will be right, third value will be bottom, fourth value will be your left. So it is going to follow clockwise direction. So this is top, then you have right, bottom, and left. So if you use this margin property, if you just assign only one value like 30 pixel, then this one value 30 pixel will be allocated to all the space. It will be allocated to all the positions: top, bottom, right, left. If you give 4 values like 30 pixel, 20 pixel, 10 pixel, maybe 5 pixel, like this, if you assign 4 values, the first value will be always top. First value will be always top. Second value will be always right. Third value will be bottom. Third value will be bottom. Fourth value will be left. Fourth value will be left. So it follows clockwise direction like this. Suppose if you give 3 values, you can assign 3 values also. Margin, we can assign only 3 values. Maybe I am assigning 100 pixel, 200 pixel, 300 pixel. If I assign only 3 values, the first value will be always top. Okay, second value will be always right. Third value will be always bottom. And now we don't have any fourth value. So left will consider right value. Whatever right value you have, it will consider same value for left also. So here the first value will be top, second value will be right and left. Third value will be only bottom. So if you give only one value, then this one value will consider for all this direction: top, bottom, right, left. 30 pixel will be applied from all the directions. If you give 4 values, then first value will be top, second value will be right, third value will be bottom, fourth value will be left. If you give 3 values, first value will be top, second value will be right and left. It means from right also it will generate 200 pixel, from left also it will generate 200 pixel. And third value will be bottom. And if you give only 2 values, first value it will consider for top and bottom, second value will be considered for left and right. Here it will be top, bottom, and here it will consider left, right. Left, right. If you want only top and left, then just add these two properties. Margin left, margin top. That's it. You just add these two properties separately. If you want only left and top. If you want only right and bottom, just add margin right, margin bottom. If you consider all the sides, then you can use this shorter way. If you want to consider all the sides, then you can use this shorter way. And the shorter way you can use in 4 different ways. You can assign 1 value, you can assign 4 values, you can assign 3 values, you can assign 2 values. Suppose if you want only left and top, then you have to go with this individual property, margin left, and you have to assign margin top. That's it. Now, whatever values you will assign here, those values will be applied for left and top only. Okay. Is it clear? Margin property. So margin is a property which will generate the space outside the border of the element. So if you see here, outside our border, it is generating the space from all the sides. Okay. So just you remember these 4 categories. Okay. This is the shorter way of assigning the values for all the sides. Two values means first value will be top, bottom, second value will be left, right. 3 values means first value will be top, second value will be right and left, third value will be bottom. Okay. Now suppose if I select this div, third div, if I give the value something here like black, and here if I assign hash black, let me just add some border, 3 pixels solid black. Now here I am using margin. Now suppose here I am saying 200 pixel, 300 pixel. Okay, if I just comment this both the div, now only one div will be visible on the screen. Now tell me from top, bottom, how much pixel will be added, and from left and right, how much pixel will be added as a space. How much space will be generated from top, bottom? How much space will be generated from left, right? So for this element, tell me how much space will be generated from top, bottom, and how much space will be generated from left, right. Yes, the first value will be top, bottom, second value will be left, right. So if you go back here, now see 200 pixel, here 300 pixel. Now suppose if I make it 20 pixel, 300 pixel. Now see from top and from bottom, it will be 20 pixel. From left and from right, it's like 300 pixel. Okay, if I give here 10 pixel, now tell me from top how much, from bottom how much, and from left and right how much. So first value will be top, second value will be left, right, third value will be bottom. So if I go back here, now see 20 pixel, here 10 pixel. See, paragraph is coming after 10 pixel, but left, right is 300 only. Okay, if I give here 20 pixel, now From right, it will be 300 pixel, and from left, it will be 20 pixel. 20 pixel, here it is a 300 pixel. Okay, suppose you want only from top and left. If you want only from top and left, now I removed margin, so there is no margin. Now I want only from top and left. I want 100 pixel from top. I want 150 pixel from left. Now, if you want only from top and left, then what we need to do? Simply here we have to assign margin. From top, you want 100 pixel. From right, you want 0 pixel. From bottom, you want 0 pixel. From left, you want 150 pixel. You can utilize something like this. Now see, 0 pixel. Here also we have 0 pixel. Now this extra space is because of paragraph. Okay. So here I can just add div so that you will not find that extra margin. No space. No space from right, no space from bottom. You have space only from top and left. Or else, if you don't want to go with like this, then you can utilize their individual property. So here I can say margin left 150 pixel. I can say margin top 100 pixel. I got the same. Okay. So like this, we can write in the shortcut, or we can write their respective properties. Okay, this is your margin property. In the same way, we have something called padding also. Now, padding property will generate the space between the border and the content. Padding will generate space between border and the content of the element. Padding will generate the space between border and content of the element. For example, if I am taking here another file called padding. Okay, if I just copy the same code here and I will paste here, I will remove the CSS part. Okay, this margin part I will remove. Okay, if I go back here, if I load this document in my browser, it looks something like this. Now let me remove this paragraph as this div also. So we have only one div. Now between the content and border, we don't have much space. We don't have actual space. I want to generate this space between the border and the content. Then what I can do, I can simply utilize the padding property. Padding, if I say here 30 pixel, now it will generate the space from all the sides, top, bottom, left, right. Now if I go back here, now see, space generated within the element, between the border and the content, from top, from left, from right, and from bottom. I can increase the value. Maybe I will say 130 pixel. Now see, 130 pixel generated the space from top, from bottom, from left, from right. I can add margin also. Margin will generate space outside the border. Margin will generate the space outside the border. This outside the border space is generated because of margin. Inside the border, space is generated because of padding. Because of padding. So in your interviews, they will ask, what is the difference between margin and padding? What is the difference between margin and padding? This is mostly most asked interview question. In lot of interviews, people will ask this question. What is the difference between margin and padding? So do you have the answer for that now? The difference between margin and padding? What is the difference between margin and padding? Margin will generate the space outside the border. Padding will generate the space inside the border. Outside the border, space is generated because of margin. Inside the border, space is generated because of padding. Okay. And whatever rules we have learned related to margin, same rules we have related to padding also. So here we have margin left, margin top. We have here margin bottom, margin right. Same properties we have for padding also. So we have padding left, padding right, padding top, padding bottom. So same properties we have for padding also. Now here, how we are using shorter way to assign all the values for all the directions. For margin, same rules we have for padding also. Same rules we have for padding also. Suppose if I say here something like this. Padding 30 pixel and 100 pixel. Now 30 pixel will be applied from top bottom. 100 pixel will be applied from left to right. So if I save it, go back here. Now see 30 pixel from top and bottom, 100 pixel from left and right. If I give three values, first value will be top, second value will be for left and right, third value will be for bottom. Now see, only 10 pixel space generated from bottom, 30 pixel space generated from top, 100 pixel from left and right. If I say 50 pixel here, or maybe 10 pixel I am saying. First value will be top, second value will be right, third value will be bottom, fourth value will be left. Now see, from left only 10 pixel, 30 pixel, 10 pixel, 100 pixel. Same rules, whatever rules we have learnt related to margin, same rules will be applied for padding also. Is it clear for everyone? Understood the difference between margin and padding? This is very important. Lot of time we will be using these properties. So did you understood these two properties, margin and padding? Okay. Now, did you remember this this example, first example? I have taken one div. I have just taken one div. To this div, I just applied border property. I just applied border property. To that div, I just applied border property. Now, did we apply any margin? Did we apply any margin for this div? For this div, did I apply any margin? No. But here we are able to see some space, right? From top, we have some space. From left, we have some space. From right, we have space. Now, why this space is generated? We haven't applied any margin, but still we are able to see some space, right? That space is because of this body element. By default, your browser will add some margin to this body element. By default, your browser will add some margin to this body element. That is the only reason we got that space here. Now, if you see, if I select that body element, And if I add here border property, 3 pixel solid, if I say red, if you see here, now see, there is a red border. This is our body element. So for body element, there is some space. Some margin is applied by your browser. If you want, you can remove this margin. How to remove this margin? Simply, we can use margin property and the value we can assign 0 pixel. 0 pixel means you are saying browser, whatever margin you applied, you remove that margin, make it 0 pixel. Now if I go back here, now see 0 pixel. Now we don't have any margin. We don't have any margin for our border. Now we don't have any margin for our body element. If you want, I can remove this border now. If I remove this border, my div will take complete 100% width. 100% width. So in your interviews, they will ask you to take one div element. They will ask you to assign one border property. Now you will assign border property. Now once you assign border property, they will ask you why this extra space is generated. Now you haven't applied any margin property, but still there is one extra space. Now why this extra space is generated? This is what the question they are going to ask. Now you have to say this extra space is generated because of this body element. By default, your browser is going to add some margin to this body element. That is the only reason we got that extra space. Then he will ask, can we remove this extra space? Answer is yes. How to remove? Select your body element and just assign margin value as a 0 pixel. That extra space will be removed. Extra space will be removed. Okay. Understood, right? That extra space is applied to which element? That is applied to your body element. So you have to remove like this. Now, if I take here H1 tag, I'm saying welcome to CSS, margin and padding property. Okay, I have taken H1. For this H1, I will add some border. Okay, I have taken one H1. To that H1, I am adding some border. If I go back here, now see, now my H1 element have some border. But between this H1 and this div, there is some space, right? Between this div and H1, you have some space. Now, how did you got this space from top and bottom? We haven't added any margin here. For div also, we did not add any margin. For H1 also, we did not add any margin. But we got some space here between the H1 and div. Yes, again, this is because of margin property. By default, your browser will add some margin to this H1 element also. To this H1 element, it will add some margin from top and bottom. That is the only reason you got this margin. Who will add that margin? Your browser will add. If you want, can you remove this margin? Can you remove this extra space? Yes. How to remove? Simply assign margin and say 0 pixel. Space got removed. That extra space got removed. Okay. In the same way, if you take paragraph, element, and to this paragraph also, I will add some border. Okay, I will add some border. Now, if you go back here, now see, for your paragraph also some space is generated. See here, some space is generated between this div and paragraph. So by default, your paragraph also will have some margin. Okay, I want to make paragraph margin also 0. So just make margin 0. That extra space got removed. So by default, your H1 tag, your H2 tag, H3 tag, H4 tag, nothing but your all heading elements and paragraph element will have some margin. By default, some styles will be added to them. But for your div element, to your div element, there are 0 styles. Your browser will not add any kind of margin or padding for your div element. By default, there will be no padding and margin or default styles for your div element. This is the only reason we use div element to create the sections. We use this div element to create multiple sections inside our document. Why we use div element to create sections? Because by default, your browser will not add any kind of styles to this div element. So div element is a perfect element to create separate sections inside your document. Inside your document. So in your interviews, they will ask, what is div element? You will answer div element is used to create sections in the document. Like this, we can create different sections in our document. Now they will ask, why you use div element only to create sections? Why not paragraph? Why not heading? Why not any other element? Then you have to give the answer. Div is the only element to which your browser will not add any kind of padding and margin. This is the only reason why we prefer div element to take to consider different sections. Okay. Yeah. So this is what I wanted to cover in today's session. So our today's session was more about margin and padding. And very important topic, margin and padding. You have to understand at any cost. Okay. So in tomorrow's session, we will do one thing. We will develop this part. Okay, in tomorrow's session, we will develop this kind of UI. Now we have learned enough concepts to create this kind of user interface. Okay, so let's see in tomorrow's session, how can we create this kind of user interface using whatever we have learned. Then once we have done with this, then we will explore next set of topics. Okay. Yeah, that's all guys for today's session. So let's meet tomorrow and let's explore some more topics.